Okay, thank you. Let us please start with, got our announcements that I got to make later. Whatever topics you want me to cover today, anybody please?
Sabotaging.
Self-forgiveness.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, confusion, yep.
Interconnected empathy.
Forgiveness.
Okay, one sec.
Self-forgiveness.
Hold on.
Self-forgiveness.
Wait. What was the gal over here? Somebody over here? Yeah, I'm already having to work on that. Sorry. So after that, there were a couple here.
Individuation.
Hold on. I'm still needing to go back to these over here. One more time.
Self-forgiveness.
Okay, and there were a couple.
3, I think.
Yeah, thank you. In this section. Anybody else? No. I got to go back in chronological order. Then somebody over here. Anybody? Anybody? Your turn.
Individuality and oneness.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Don't thank me. I'm not going to go there anyway. No, I will try. And just so you know, it's a playful thing when people are sharing thoughts. And I'm not being rude when I tell you wait. But wait. Because I'm trying to respect, there's some people that said something and I say hold it. When I'm saying hold it to that person doesn't mean I want a bunch of new things added. We're still waiting for them, but so wait, everybody. It'd be helpful if you wait till I catch up, because things are downloading as you're sharing them, so I have to sort of. And plus, I want to honor all the requests as best as possible. And the word forgiveness came up a few times in self-forgiveness, forgiveness, and so on. Individuality, individuation. Self-sabotage, and also interconnected empathy was one of them. I love this. I mean, it's such a variety, but yet they're all connected. Forgiveness is the most powerful tool that anybody can be practicing. You could think it's meditation. Meditation is the key. Listen, if you're not a forgiving person, meditation can do no good for you.
That's right.
But you can be a forgiving person and never know how to meditate and still meet God. Forgiveness is the most important technique. Now, that doesn't mean I'm anti-meditation, not at all. Because it's almost like forgiveness helps you clear out the old, and meditation is the next step. That's why Jesus is saying to you, don't try to go into the temple, meaning meditation or a center for that matter, with grievances. Try to clear the old grievances, then come to God. That means a lot of things. Even if you're trying to do prosperity prayers, manifestation techniques, clear out the old. Otherwise, you're just building on quicksand, really. And a lot of people have to look at that because I'm using this technique for manifestation. It's not working. Listen, before you pay me to tell you why it's not working, and I'm happy to help you with that. But before you offer to pay me or a counselor or a psychic to find out why it's not working, pause and ask yourself just that. Let me pause and think about anybody I might need to forgive. And you would be doing yourself great service. Anybody I need to forgive. And if you think, well, what if nobody comes up? Somebody's going to show up. Now, if you have a filter and you don't want to know it, no problem. 10 minutes later when you're showering, somebody's face pops into your mind, that's the one. And you go, well, yeah, but I don't have that many issues with them. Great. They showed up. Trust in the Mother, the Divine, the Holy Spirit, that if somebody's image popped up, forgive anyway. If I sit and say, okay, I'm open, and a procession of 10 people's images go by, and one of them I go, I didn't have any issues with them. There's no, why defend it? Why block it? Just forgive them anyway. Forgiveness isn't just because of negatives. Sometimes you have to forgive people that you idolized, especially if they didn't live up to your hopes and expectations. So there's a whole shift that is going on in human consciousness. And people are starting to like get into their camps. This is what's true. This is what's true, right? Politics and religions and then there's spiritual people, which don't typically get caught up in the rights and the wrongs. One of you used that word confusion. The ego or evil. But the ego is like a psychological term for evil. They're the same. But evil or the ego thrives on confusion, thrives on people not committing to something. You know, you hear in book of Revelation, you know, I'm summarizing, paraphrasing, but there's concepts of people that are overtly harmful. But when people repent, which involves forgiving yourself and others, you can clear that, right? You can be a very assertive person or a very passive person. Great, either one, that's fine. But the Bible, Revelation, has a very unique slant on people that are neutral, not committing. The people that try to pretend they're good, but they feel shamed that they're not perfect enough. The people that go to one polarity or another. It's called lukewarm. And it's interesting because in the book of Revelation, people that are over here, here's some advice it gives. People that are over here, here's some advice. But the ones that are lukewarm, it just says, never mind, I'm going to just spit you out of my mouth, says the Lord. Wow. Well, like, that's intense. What it means is if you're not going to honor the truth, then there's nothing to honor in you. Step up. People that think that enabling hurtful behaviors is love. It isn't. You're just a coward. You just don't want to speak up because somebody might not like you. It's okay, man, to say that doesn't feel like love or whatever it is in your circumstance. So people start pulling into camps and even in the spiritual community. I did a video once, or a talk once that was called like 10 dumb things that spiritual people say. Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, that's me. The irreverent Michael Mirdad. But, you know, one of them easily added is you know, there's one of those, well, why did you create that? What a ridiculous thing to say to people in pain, right? See, so you think they're ridiculous too. So, but people get into, well, that's my truth. Why would you even want to say that if you realized how ridiculous it is? When you say my truth, you're speaking from your lower three centers. It means me in my experience, my emotions, or my intellect. See, I'm the type that's going to be like, oops, sorry. If I do my truth, I'm already embarrassed. And I mean that as just a flippant statement. I don't mean literally, but I could see through it. As soon as you say my truth, it means you're individuating, you're individualizing. Well, I have my truth and you have yours, which means we're separate. You can't be sane if you're separate. Oneness is the truth of God. So there is the truth, capital T, of God. There's the truth, lowercase t, in your soul, and there's your truth. 3 truths, okay? Your truth, it's opinions, it's valueless, it's worthless. Now, I don't mean to invalidate you or make you feel like I'm picking on you. I'm just saying it's valueless because you're just fishing around for opinions. Your truth is your opinion. You see? I've always had this feeling like if I could come from the truth or my truth, I want to at least come from truth here. Truth in your heart is loving. Also, truth in your heart, because it's coming from the heart and soul, it's less opinionated. When it's just coming from your lower nature, it's very narrow and opinionated. Would you agree that you've seen or heard that before? Yeah, it's just narrow and opinionated. And I mean, some people are like, that's right, but it's mine. Okay. So you have all kinds of people invading countries and conquering and killing. And these are because people have their own opinions. I don't like you, so a critic attacks somebody who writes spiritual music. That's because they have their ego-based opinions. If they go here, just here, not even here, if even just here, they start to go, well, wait, I can see where everyone's thoughts and feelings have some validity. You see what happens there? Instead of, no, that's wrong. I don't agree. But who's talking? Me. Yeah, ego. It can't let harmony, it can't let connection and getting along. And let's hear what they have to say. That's where we've lived for millions of years, and it's got to come to an end. But if people the more afraid people are, the more they have to hole up in their little opinions, because it feels a false sense of safety. It might be wrong, but at least it's mine. I'm like, well, no, if it's wrong, I don't want to be in a wrong state of mind. I don't want to make opinions of gender, race, or whatever it is that goes around on the planet. So when you start to get into the heart, it's an air quality, earth, water, fire, air. And the heart and one of the air signs, let's say Aquarian, is one of the key words is humanitarianism. It kind of means connecting with people more. Instead of I, it's we. And then this is thee. Capital T, God. Thy will be, T-H-Y as well. God's will be done. But we don't go from my little opinions, ours, and then we just become obliterated and we go into God. We become part of God. You see it? We become part of the all. So the truth of God, and it's a sad thing because religions who should be representing this, they may not embody it perfectly, but they should be representing it and saying words like, I don't know, but let's ask God. And asking for every politician, every political leader should be prayerful. How could you run a country without starting the day with prayer and saying, help me? I mean, you have to. Unless you're Ronald Reagan, because then you include prayer and astrological readings. Because he did follow astrology, and I think that was really cool. I think that's just cool. I do. I just think that's the fact that some people didn't like it and slammed him for it. I think it's even funnier now because people slammed him for it. I just think it's cool. You're going to do peace treaties with other countries. Well, let's see if Jupiter's conjunction, I just think it's hilarious. But anyway, there's this whole notion of truth and I know best and my truth, but you can't. If you're not even coming from love, you can't know the truth of God. And sadly, religions are supposed to be representing this. But everything they're saying, generally speaking, everything they're saying is coming from the lower centers, from intellect, from emotion, from experience, survival, lower centers. And I understand why, but it's also the ego is so rampant. It infiltrates everything, even a thing that's supposed to be representing God. So if I'm not speaking love, because religions have started wars before, if I'm not representing love, these people actually say, God is telling us. As soon as you hear the word, believe the word God, and then it has anything to do with destruction, you're probably not hearing from God. Somewhere it went off. God could say, I want you, and I mean this, you could hear inspiration from God that says, I want you to join with that person. I want you to join with that nation. Okay? By the time that information here filters down through your heart and then all your lower centers to your root center, it adds up to, I'm supposed to marry you and conquer you. All God said was, I want you to join with him. Your head interprets it as, oh, okay, romantically. And God's like, oy vey, like, that's not at all what I meant for you to do. Join. Oh, have sex with? No. Join with that country. Oh, I have permission from God to conquer them so they can join us. You see what I'm saying? The ego has that propensity, that tendency, that insistence to take even your highest truth and spoil it down to your truth, my truth, individuality. So despite all that, there's another way of looking at all this. Don't expect to know the perfect truth of God. Think of anything you like in your life. I don't care if it's rainbows or a food. Think of anything you like. Just let it come to mind. One thing you really, really like. And just understand that's just one thing you're naming. You could probably name 100 if you really think about it. If you want to know the complete truth of God, 1 second you call for it. I swear to you, the very next second, you're gone and the things you loved are gone. Because the truth of God is that this is a hologram. So as soon as you go, I like that, but I don't like that, it's gone. So in other words, what I'm saying is, knowing the truth of God is kind of intimidating. I'll only say that briefly because I can see how turned off you become from my saying it. But I'm only going to say it this much, that knowing the truth of God means the death of everything else, the ending of everything else. Not its ending, but ending as you know it. So it's not that fun. That's why the Old Testament and in some ways the New Testament have told you, and other sacred works, that if you become one with God, like for example, the Old Testament, if you see the face of God, you would be obliterated, which made people afraid of God. Now see, a mystic, a Buddhist as well, would probably understand that to mean, that's cool. Absolutely. Let me look upon the face of God and be obliterated, because they know what it means. It means the me that I'm not. That's pretty cool. See, a human goes, oh, but what about my kitty cats? And what about you? And God doesn't like cats. Apparently, and then you make up some stories about that. And religions that, anti-cat religions, Then next thing you know, there'll be churches with cat images and the circle with the slash across. No cats allowed. People will get real serious about this, and we heard God doesn't like cats. Somebody will hear me say that, and they'll think now they'll post it somewhere. I heard the Global Center doesn't like cats. This is messed up humans. But yeah, the truth of the matter is to see the face of God, which means to know, not just to see. To see the face of God means to know the truth of God. And in the truth of God, there is no 3D world. This is a mirror, a projection of how we're feeling in higher dimensions or consciousness. God's truth, ours, mine. You see? Which is interesting because this is beyond a collective. This is oneness in its greatest sense. This is a collection of individuals. This is just individuals. Individuals have individual opinions. Here, at least it's higher. It's a collective. So now, when I tune into something, I'm tuning in at least to the collective of us. It's not perfectly oneness of God, but it's halfway there. And at least I can choose in my heart to say, I know that sometimes I get in the way and block a little of that perfect truth of God. I see it, I own it, I surrender it. Then more and more direct truth of God comes pouring into our hearts. Then we can allow that to enter our day-to-day lives. And it's not that you say, hey, now that I meditate, I want you to know that I am perfectly in touch with the total truth of God. I feel really plugged in. I feel really, really good and plugged in. And I do not claim to speak the truth of God. And God's okay with that. Because what it means is I'm open. Not, I know the truth of God. No. I'm open to the truth of God. How perfectly it filters through, it's still using my vocal cords, my mouth to speak the words. It still filters through my mind. If the highest, let's pretend, the truth of God could be attained for a split moment, it would become suddenly, all of us, our minds would become joined as one, and we would be sharing a state of bliss. No thoughts, no past, no future. It would just be oneness, which I just felt a nice wave of, incidentally. Isn't that interesting? It's really beautiful. Like, wow, what was that? By just saying it, I know that thoughts create. But when you believe your thoughts, it really creates. See, you can just have thoughts, but they can be strange, odd, disconnected. Say something, think it, believe it, and it really shifts everything. So I say that, and as I'm saying it, I was like, uh-oh. you know, you know, and that's cool. Now, you still have to get in individual cars to go home. You still have to pick up your purse, not somebody else's. Your phone, you see what I'm saying? So back into the 3D world. But you still, now you're in the world, but not of the world. Because you're carrying with you bliss here. You might carry your pocketbook. I have to pause for a second. Is there still something called a pocketbook? No, is there? Is that changed over to something else? Purse, okay. Isn't that weird? Okay, so your pocketbook. You know, I say these words sometimes, and then I check in and go, wait, is that? One time, I dared to say the word shoe cobbler. You should have seen everybody looking at me like, he is old, isn't he? You know, because it's just a term. I don't know yesterday and tomorrow, yesterday versus tomorrow. They're just words, you know, so they all get blended in. So your purse, wallet, and whatever else, you know, you've got these 3D things, but just like you would carry that, your ID, you also have this other thing in you, in the core of your being. And you can walk out of here just high, but you need to be in your body to drive your car. Fair enough. But then comes a call that's alarming. Then comes a text that's upsetting. Then, you see what I'm saying? In the world, trust me, just as God knows your soul, your ego knows your body, your humanness. And just as God is always calling you home, so is the ego always doing the opposite, disconnecting you from everything. So these issues, these challenges, these life's tests, and these moments of attack and whatever, that's not accidental. That's trying to wear you down, and it's trying to make you disconnect from the truth. So we talked bliss for a second. There was a wave. Great. Now holding it is the next thing. Feeling it once is one thing. Holding it, feeling it, experiencing it, and try to get that to last as long as possible through the day. Some of us go, I felt that all the way into my sleep that night. Beautiful. Others are going to say, I didn't even make it out the door. You know, so I realized, oh my God, I forgot to this. And I went back to get my glasses. They were gone. Then I started realizing, which one of these people look like glasses thieves? You know, and my mind went into all this stuff. And you know what? You still deserve God's love, our love, support, forgiveness, but take it out on somebody that you lost your glasses and you'll be told to leave. To feel wounded is one thing. To take your wounds out on others is another thing. You still deserve love, forgiveness, compassion, yes, but also one extra piece, which is being told no. And that's how we have to live. How can I be in the world, not of it? How can I be plugged into God and still say no when your kids ask for something that's not healthy for them? Somebody else in the world, anybody, asks you to do something that's not right for you. You see? And you don't have to say, because the truth of God says no. And the Bible says, and the Upanishads say, you don't have to quote and throw things at people. Is the truth that you know, as you know it, integrated in here and what's true for you? And some people say, well, I still don't know what God would want. It's kind of simple. What would love do? Or what would the most loving thing be? See, using whatever works for you along those lines. Some people would say, what would Jesus do? That's a tricky one. I think it's a nice thing to try, but what would Jesus do? That's a little challenging because you can't imagine which car Jesus would want you to buy. Which one would Jesus buy? He would just buy locate. I mean, he wouldn't buy a car. So it's not as practical and applicable as you might hope. Serious, you know. Or, you know, what would Buddha do? Buddha, which car? And I do not care. I am not attached to either. So you might want to say, what is the greatest good? There are some wordings that you and I can choose that would be very right for us. And when in doubt, what would love do? Then you use a second backup, like what would be the greatest good? And then, and none of them work all the time for every human being, because sometimes you go to make a decision. Let's say I'm having a challenging partnership, marriage, and I have kids. It's time, man. It's really horrendous here, and it's time for a divorce. Oh, well, what would be the greatest good? It's a tough one because if you take greatest good, it means for everybody. Your ex is going to be angry. Your kids are going to go through challenges with this change. It seems like that's not the right decision. But then you have to add another piece in the long run. The greatest good in the long run. Because of course, often in this world, temporary comforts seem like the direction, but you're not supposed to be asking, what would be the quickest comfort? When you say the greatest good, be sure to add in the big picture, because that would mean, could mean, often means, and usually means temporarily a little ouch, but it ends, this will be the best thing. Do you see how I transition that? What would be the greatest thing today? I've got a tooth that's really, really bad. It needs extracted. I've got infection. The greatest good? No, that would be kind of painful. God wouldn't want that for me. You know, now you're living and your jaw becomes infected. Greatest good? Go get it done. Yeah, but it's going to hurt. Yeah, I know, temporarily. But tomorrow, healing begins. You see what I mean by that? So sometimes you got to push through. Some of us don't want to get a chiropractic adjustment. Do it anyway. Yeah, but oh my God, it freaks me out to hear those bones cracking. Put on headphones, listen to something else. Like, go for the greater good in the big picture. And I know people have, you know, like, yeah, but what if? And what if what? Well, what if a chiropractor breaks my neck when he's adjusting it? That's only happened a few times in the history of man and chiropractic. Far more people have died following surgeries and AMA recommendations than getting a chiropractic adjustment. But what if you're one of them? What if you're going to be the one for this decade? When you surrender yourself to a brother and sister and they give a massage or they do dental work, when you surrender, you're in a state of surrender. Trust me, if that chiropractor, no offense chiropractors, because I'm not putting anything negative out, if they happen to break your neck, trust me, you will be in heaven the next minute, because you were in a state of trust. That's better than not going out of fear. Try trusting. I remember one time I was on a flight. I was at the airport in Seattle, and I was flying overseas to Australia to speak at a conference. And I saw another speaker at the terminal. I hear this, Michael. I look over and and so it's one of the other speakers. Hi, how's it going? You know, yeah, you're getting checked in. You know, can you book us to be, you know, in the same row or whatever? So they did all that. We get in the flight. The flight's taking off, and it's like, something's burning, which is not a good thing to happen on a flight. Something's burning, and then this other speaker looks over to me. Yeah. And I'm looking at the flight attendants, and they're going, you know, and that's always of concern. Then you see this. You know, there's clearly fire smell going on. So this other speaker, and I'm serious, like, I'm serious this happened, where this other speaker turns to me and goes, what if we crash? And I said, if we do, I promise you, this day you shall be with me in paradise. Isn't that great? Just turn it into something cool. Now, was I looking forward to such a thing? No, but when other people are scared, somebody needs to show up. You need to be the mom, the dad for the group, the police officer, the fire, woman or whatever, emergency person. You know, you need to show up. I know it's not always easy, and you're allowed to say, not today. I'm as panicked as everybody else. Find another miracle worker. And trust that God will be able to find someone else. But do your best to be the person today that makes a difference. When everybody's complaining about politics, politicians, try to be the one to go, yeah, but I understand. You know, and just plant this. I don't mean fight them. I mean just be the presence of peace. Be the peace you want to see in the world. It doesn't help to add to the gossip, to add to the fear. It really doesn't. In fact, it's opposite. It's adding to the destructiveness, the hatred, and whatever else. It's brings something different. So in that moment, I mean, I was also like, wow, something's burning. So we had to land and change planes. But something's burning. And of course, something needs done. Like, let's land. But panicking isn't going to help. Smiling. And I've told this one story many times. But there's a gal that sat next to me once, and she was an older woman. I say older, she's the age I am now, but she was an older woman. Oh, God bless us all. So she's just like this. And I'm sitting in my seat, and I can, spider senses are tingling. I'm sensing something, and hi there, hi. And we're still at the gate, and she's going, oh my God, I'm so afraid of flying. And I'm like, oh. So when somebody says I'm afraid of flying, it doesn't mean you need to do something. It means you need to be open to guidance. Don't think that every incident means you're supposed to run in there, fly in there, land in the superhero landing kind of, I have arrived. You're supposed to just go, what is this? Okay, you just open your mind. Okay, And sometimes you'll be called to send a prayer, sometimes word, sometimes action. Don't know. But in this case, the woman was definitely freaked out. Then they unlock the brakes to start backing out, right? There's that jolt. And she just panic. And then they back us out, and they start taxiing, and they start doing the announcements, about in case of a, emergency exit. And she's like, oh my God, why do they have to talk about things like that? And what I said isn't, beloved, peace be with you. I didn't say, let's call in the presence of Jesus or Saint Germain. What I said to her was, you don't actually have to listen to these emergency announcements. It basically comes down to this. If we have an emergency landing, any part of the plane that's ripped open is an emergency exit. And I mean, she was like, and then she started laughing. And then we're both laughing. And the next thing you knew, we were leveling off. So you don't know. It could be the opposite of that. We could have been doing prayerful affirmations and mantras and whatever. But are we open to hear what's supposed to be done? Are we even open to what would you have me do? We should be starting every day with what would you have me do? And my saying to that person, just like the one, you shall be with me in paradise. I just pulled out a Jesus quote. Like, hey, if this is our crucifixion, you shall be with me in paradise. It was fun, funny, and fit the moment to another spiritual teacher that would get it. I couldn't have said that to that woman. It wouldn't have made much sense. But to say any part of the plane that's ripped open is an emergency exit, you have my full permission to run out that hole in the hull or whatever, Yeah, just think of it as a hole in the sky and you're up to, out. So sometimes that's what's needed. Calmness other times. Sometimes prayer. And you might be thinking, but I probably should do more. Shh. Try to remain prayerful. There's a saying in some groups. Sometimes when in doubt, just do the next right thing. Whatever that happens to be. What a lot of us underestimate, even when we are having readings done or do readings for others, we often assume that we're supposed to come up with an answer from our head. Anytime your experiences, now don't get me wrong, there's a valuable time for your experiences and your opinions and your feelings, lower three chakras. But are they dictating the moment, or are you asking for God to use them to what's needed in the moment? God might still use your 3D experience. It's not wrong, bad, sinful, limited. If you give it to God, it becomes glorious. Somebody else might not have thought of using a punchline to a woman who's terrified. You see? But yet God was able to go, in this moment, one of my children is afraid. And Michael's got a pretty good sense of humor. Let's throw him in there. He might be able to help. You see what I'm saying? Like, God will use that you're a single mom or a married mom or not. God will use the this or that, your race, your height, your hair color. God can use any of it, but are we surrendering those things to God to be used? Use me as you will. That's the highest divine feminine prayer is use me as you will. The way Mother Mary did it, I am handmaiden of the Lord. Use me as you will. That's not a putting down. People take that somehow as a lowering yourself. By lowering, you become higher. The last shall be first. So you put yourself aside and you're made into a channel of God. When you say, no, I'll figure out what I'm channeling and when and how, you cut off from the highest heaven. You also cut off from your own soul, and you're only manipulating information from your lower nature. You can think it's fabulous. It might even make you a buck or two. Lots of people have written books, made money that weren't coming from the highest or whatever, you know. Movies are made generally for not coming from the highest place. Why do you think Friday the 13th has like 15, extensions to it? Part 1, Part 2, Part 85, Friday the 13th. Why didn't Jesus of Nazareth ever have a Part 2? You know what I'm saying? It's like truth can be just so clear and concise. Like in our talks here, our sharing, it feels like mini workshops sometimes. It's not just quoting from this book or that. It feels like it's an experience. And I've said this many times, but it's a combination of being open to God's truth, but then asking that on a soul level, we're all connecting. Then the third, which is, now here comes the words. So we all would benefit from learning to have that channel, that flow. God, spirit, soul, body. Let my words be from here coming through to the best of my ability today. Later on, I might go, I might have, you can do that. But you can also just surrender it. And then it starts to speak for itself. You'll see if you're a counselor or a mom and the way you parent and so on. The more you're asking to be a channel, it shouldn't be, now I don't know how to parent because I'm getting so high in consciousness. I don't know how to do 3D things. There's supposed to be a flow all the way from the highest heaven right to your day-to-day checkbook work. And people think those are separated. There should be from spirit to body in everything. How you cook your food, how you make love, everything. And some of us do the opposite. We go, I'm getting so connected to spirit, I just don't eat anymore. And I'm now celibate. And you're disconnecting from the world. And that's not bad, but understand that it is a natural pendulum swing. You went from being in the world and now you're abstaining. Good for you. But that's not the end. The goal of the pendulum is always here in your center. The swing of life, duality, and so on. It's to find balance and center. Look at Siddhartha. Wow, there's no flaws in his. Yeah, he went too far, man. He was fasting and doing all this extreme work to detach from the world. He started seeing it. This world's an illusion. So I shouldn't eat. I shouldn't do this. So all he did is become skinny. He sat there becoming skinny. And he becomes so emaciated. There's a great statue that you'll find in some books or some places where you can even see every vein in his skin because there's nothing else. And his tummy, which looks round, is actually concave. You can see every vein across his ribs. It's a great statue, but it's a reminder. I went too far. So that's why he says in one day in meditation, I'm paraphrasing, but one day in meditation, he's meditating and he hears the sound of a sitar. And it distracts him a little or attracts his attention. And he looks and all of a sudden, truth downloads. Oh, the strings can't be too tight nor too loose. Balance. Not too much fasting, not too much food. Balance. And in a way, that's when enlightenment hits him to a whole nother level. Balance. In the world, not of the world. When you're trying to find God by defeating the world, you're still being reactive. I know we can say, but I wish I didn't have any more arguments with people because I want to be so spiritual. Go and live in a cave in the Himalayas, or Himalayas as some people pronounce it. Go and live in a cave. And great. Now you don't have anybody to argue with, you think. But when that mosquito comes flying around your ear and you're doing this, you're still distracted. You're still here. Or when the Domino's delivery doesn't show up to your cave, you're going to be a little a little bothered. You know, there's going to be something. It could be an earthquake that makes you, why are you reacting? You're so blissed out and perfect. It's okay. Our job, believe it or not, is not to become detached mystics as much as integrated spiritual beings, integrated into day-to-day life. You are a better example to others, which is a huge part of your reason on being on earth, is not just to get it together here, but to bring that change to others. And in bringing that change to others, you're far more effective showing them how you are here, but how you react differently to things. Join in gossip, you have affirmed that's the way to go. Join in hatred and judgment, you're showing people, hi, nice to meet you. I'm as messed up as you are. That's what you're doing every time you join in darkness, which is why, back to where we started, lukewarm, enabling. Well, I didn't want to stir up anything. Stir it up a little. It's okay. Not in an overt, hurtful, demanding way, but be the change. Show a difference. You know, we're starting a new year right now. Start this year and make more commitment to prosperity. Oh, I heard that, prosperity, money, it's all of the ego and the world. Hey, listen, balance. Connect with God as your source, appreciate others as your resource, and stay in your center and receive. It's okay. The extremes are not God's voice. These are made up by man and man's experiences, man's misuse, and unknowing about the centerpiece. Man goes here and here, whether it's called Republican, Democrat, male, female, black, white, any version of duality. So sometimes if you're in charge of a nation or a house or your own body, it's all the same. There's times when you have to say no. And the more abusive something is, even if it's a disease, sometimes use the antibiotics. Oh, but they're not organic. Let's talk about organic after your illness is gone. Sometimes you have to take action as a nation, as a government, like a local government, or in a building, but your house and your own body. It's amazing when people discover that they have value. You can preach value, what you think should be happening out there, but you've got to practice it here. And it's an amazing thing when you have friends that still party and sleep around and they see that without preaching to them, how you've changed your life and you're different. You have different standards, different values. You see what I mean by that? And you're going to go through the pendulum where you used to party and now people are making fun of you. You're no fun anymore. We're not going to invite you to New Year's parties anymore. You're going to go through that, and you might feel shamed and sad. You might also get angry at them for treating you that way. You're not in the center yet. There's a point where you're here. You no longer do this, but you also no longer react to this. You're in your center. When you're in your center, you are the most effective to other people, for other people. Now you're standing in the truth in your heart and soul. I get what you're saying. I get that you like to do that. It's not for me. See, not shaming other people. Very often people get very into, like if they find religion, they now have to tell everybody what they're doing is wrong. Oh my God, You could say, I'm listening to the Osmonds, so that's evil. That's of the devil. Some of them are that extreme. Like they'll find fault with anything. Then there's other topics, foods. I'm just, sitting here enjoying whatever it is, a hamburger. Never had one of those, but I know people dig them. So they're like, I'm sitting here having a hamburger. Oh, and you feel all your vegan friends starting to cleanse themselves. We didn't know that you still eat meat. Oh my God, they get all upset. Shaming the person having a hamburger, you are not in your center. Well, yes, I am, because God would not. How do you know? How do you know God doesn't go to McDonald's? How do you know? What made you think that you know that? Well, because God would never. You're creating God in your image. You see? So Jesus himself is saying, don't get all trippy. I'm paraphrasing. Don't get all trippy. Don't get all trippy about what people put in their mouth. They're foods. It's what comes out. What he means is not just be religious about your words. What comes out reveals what's in here. My anger is going to slip out now and again. My judgments of people, it's going to slip out. So he's talking about that's what you should be working on here, not eating and drinking perfectly. And I'm not putting people down in that either. I think if you macrobiotic or vegan and vegetarian, it's fine. I mean, do what you want to do. Be careful, though, when you preach others or make others guilty for what they eat or drink. You actually can't get very far with that. If you say meat eating is definitely bad, you just said all indigenous tribal people, Native American, Australian, everywhere, that eat meat are all evil. You can actually live with yourself believing that that's true? Well, no, there's an exception. Oh, is there? You know what I'm saying? It's all just opinions. And no offense, but they're just opinions. You can have them, but as you evolve, you start noticing less opinions and more thinking as a we. What would be the best thing for me to say when that person's going, my God, I haven't had a burger in 5 years and it's so delicious, I feel like I needed it. Right on. Well, good for you. See, some people would think that's wrong and evil to support them in eating a burger. You know what? It's not a person eating a burger. It's a child of God that's hurting today, feeling already scared and ashamed that they're breaking down over a burger. And you're there to say, today you will be with me in paradise. You see what I'm saying there? How can you ease people's minds and hearts? That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be asking. Not beating them up with our truth. Ask. Then you're moving to this center. What is the greatest good? What is really needed in this moment? And when you do that, it's amazing. The clouds, so to speak, are parted, and the light of God shines more directly to guide you, but also to reward you. By being loving, patient, etc., more good comes to you. You're actually given more prosperity, jobs, healthier relationships, better romance, etc., by being a better person. It's not a lotto that, God, it landed on your number today and God gave you a gift. All these things are reflections of consciousness. Be nicer, be more loving, be more patient, more good comes to you. It's not just your vision board. I mean, how much good can that do if you're a jerk? Right? This is something I'm going to create. The vision board of the jerk. And I want all these really cool things, but I will not do anything to open up to them. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to share something with you as our meditation, I think. So instead of going into a full meditation, we're going to close our eyes and just absorb this poetic concept, okay? Please take a few centering breaths. I think I shared this once many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Eyes closed and just meditate on these words. Just allow them to float in, enter your mind. Have insights around them. There's this famous painting. It's called The Truth Coming Out of the Well. And it's an amazing painting because it has all this like story behind it. So it's like a legend. Once upon a time, the truth and the lie meet each other. And the lie says to the truth, it's a marvelous day today. And the truth looks up to the sky and looks around and says, yes, it is. It really actually was a beautiful day. So then the two of them hang out. We agree. Beautiful day. And then they walk and they arrive at a place. They arrive at a well. And the lie then says something else. Now it's to the truth. The water in this well is very nice, isn't it? And the truth says, yes, it is. And then the lie says, let's take a bath together. So they bathe together. They enjoy the waters of the well. So everything seems pretty copacetic. But the truth is starting to get a little suspicious. It does test the water. It seems like the lie is telling the truth. The water is nice. So that's why it was willing to get into the water. Suddenly, the lie gets out of the water, puts on the clothes of the truth, and runs away. Now, quite furious, the truth gets out of the well, runs everywhere to find the lie to get back their clothes. But the problem is the world was seeing the truth running around disguised as a lie. The lie disguised as the truth. So it becomes like confusing. The world is seeking the naked truth. But what we have is a lie disguised as the truth. So the world then turns its gaze away and it says, we can't stand because the truth is now naked. We don't want to see the naked truth. We'd rather see fake truth, a lie dressed up as the truth. So the truth, distraught, returns to the well and disappears inside the well, forever hiding there. But it's hiding, it feels ashamed. Since then, it's said, and this painting sort of reveals that now the lie travels around the world every second of every day as though it's the truth, dressed, disguised as the truth. It satisfies the needs of society because the world, generally speaking, harbors no wish to ever meet the naked truth. The world would rather know a lie disguised as the truth than seeing the naked truth. So the moral of the story, obviously, and I'll share like maybe 2 levels, but the moral of the story in part is that the world has most things backwards. Lies are treated as truth. Truth is treated as lies. Truth is kept hidden away as though it's too shameful to bear. But let's look at our own lives. How have I done this? Dressed somebody up as though they were the truth, married them to find out there was a lie. Thinking I was in love, but I lied to myself. Thinking they loved me, but they lied. When I'm going and taking on a job that disguised as a great soul's purpose job, but it isn't actually resonating with your heart. But I'd rather take the lie so I have an income. Look at where we've done this. And certainly not to beat yourself up over it, just to see it. Wow, I mean, I really have. I can clearly see where I've rather seen when I knew I needed to change jobs or end a relationship. Not doing it means I was more willing to hide the naked truth and live with the disguise. See? Where have I done that? If you see a tangible experience, an example of that, forgiveness is the key. I'm sorry to my parents or my children or my partners when I was choosing the comfort of a false truth. I'm sorry when I settled. I'm sorry that I got stoned when I knew I didn't want to. I'm sorry to you, my body, to you, my soul. I'm sorry for sleeping people that I pretended was mutually caring. I'm sorry for every bit of false evidence to you, my children. Every time I showed you that it's somehow acceptable to bargain away the truth. I'm so sorry. I was afraid. I was being weak. But now I'm back. To kids, I don't care of any age, to parents, whomever, I'm here now. And I'm choosing to live the truth of God as best I can by finding it also in my own heart and soul. At the very least, I'm coming back to my heart, guided by God into my heart. When something doesn't resonate with my heart, which is the greater good for all in the long run, which is a place of love, valuing myself, this is where I'm coming from now on. This is my commitment for a new year. I don't have to kick down any doors. I don't have to preach it to others or prove it. I'm just going to choose to feel it and live it. So I call upon you, Father, Mother, God, to guide me in this endeavor. I will not hide in the well from shame. I will not punish myself or try to for ever having bargained away. No need. I see it. I release it. I've learned from it. And now I got it. I am willing to see the naked truth. Literally, my body and body parts that I'm ashamed of, that I judge, moods that I have, that I judge, addictions, all of it. Let's see it all. Let it all be washed clean in that well of truth. To you, Father, Mother, God, I give all of this. And it is not too much for you to bear, I know. It's a little much for me to believe I can do this, but it is a belief I choose. So I'm handing all of this to you. All that makes me feel too exposed, I give to you. Because beneath the shameful, seemingly shameful me is inside one that have judged myself somewhere. And hidden behind that is a holy child of God. And that's where I'm going from here on. I am as God created me. I will to be the Christ on earth. In mind, body, and soul. And so it is. Good. Relax and stretch out for a moment. Integrate. Bring back with you whatever you heard in the talk or that meditation, that example from that painting. Okay. I think the painter's name was Jean Gérôme from like 1890, if you ever want to look it up, because there's the story around that picture. Kind of like Plato's cave. There's a story, we've talked about that. There's sometimes these images, these poems, these songs that have a cooler, richer history behind them. So can anyone share, what did you learn or hear or experience today that you would say that, the most beneficial, most helpful to you, most important for you and or in your day-to-day life? Yes?
I can still drink from the well of truth.
That I can still drink from the well of truth. Absolutely. Yes?
I like what you said when you said that you have to empty out your vessel. And I kind of related that to a pocketbook.
Mm.
We all come here with a pocketbook.
Yes.
That we
Yes.
want to empty out.
Right.
You don't go to your cobbler.
Go ahead.
Empty out the vessel. You learn to empty it out.
Right.
And when you do, you bring God in.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything. Empty out. Like all the Zen Taoist concepts of how can you be filled with spirit if you're already full with your own opinions and thoughts and experiences? Allow them to be emptied. Surrender them. Yes.
God is source, we are resources.
Yes. A Science of Mind minister used that line once, and I always remember it's from, I think she said that was like in the mid 1990s. I heard her say it, and I thought it was so great. God is my source. People are just your resource. It has such great meaning to it. It comes through them. They're a resource, not the source. Right? Yes.
Going after the greater good in the big picture.
Go for the greater good. And what it means, the big picture. Sometimes surgery doesn't feel good. It feels scary, so that doesn't feel like it's God because God's not about fear. Wait, it's how you'll feel afterwards. You see? It's the big picture. I don't want to go to therapy. I know it's going to bring up a bunch of stuff. Yes, it's going to be inconvenience. It's going to be an inconvenience for weeks, months, who knows, years. But when you're done, you're different. Oh, I don't want to go to 12 steps because ... fill in the blank. But in the end, wow. Whatever it happens to be, massage. Oh, sometimes it's painful. Right. What do you think? They just randomly decided to cause you pain? They're finding pain that's already there. So breathe it out. Moan, groan, let it release, let it come out. Even crying that people would rather stuff That's not the greater good in the long run. There's not one tear you've ever suppressed that didn't cause you an illness, even if it was just contributing to a cold. Not one tear. Any emotion held in becomes a thing, and it does something to you. It starts creating, whether it's physical, emotional, psychological hurt, it takes a toll. And I don't mean vent it on people, I just mean release the proper a way, an effective way, but effective, efficient way. Yes.
New Year's Day, I was called to speak up to support friends of mine, and and then I was called to share that experience online as well, and it's impacted myself and a lot of others
Nice.
in a good way. And
Nice.
because of exactly what you were talking about.
Nice job. So the awkward thing, a particular day for her, speaking up, feeling called to speak up, and then seeing the great effects it had. Even if it was awkward or challenging to speak up, to see the positive effects. If you're speaking up, wrongs, shames, judges someone, your speaking up is probably not coming from your heart, nor God, nor your center. It's coming from opinions, and people have lots of those. There's no shortage of opinions. And it's amazing, because what they do, they're so off from God and soul that they have to form groups of opinions, groups that share the same opinion. And if your group of opinions doesn't match my group of opinions, you're wrong and we're going to attack you. And then now you have the news. All right. We're going to take up our collection and do our closing prayer. The folks that you see standing are ushers, but they're also chaplains. So at any time, if you're feeling a personal need to talk to somebody, have some prayer, counseling, these folks would be good choices. There's also chaplains. Wave your hand if you're a chaplain without getting up. It is not an usher right now. There's other people you see with their hands up. They would be good choices as well, okay? But these folks are available to you. Typically after service, we do a healing circle. We won't today because today we have meetings and some other things. But if you're like, darn, I really needed some healing, you can still reach out to one of these folks and say, can you pray with me? Okay? Or submit my name for prayer. They can take care of that. Anytime, any week of any month, any year, you can also email the office and say, I'd like to submit my name for healing. You don't have to specify what it's for, but you're welcome to. Okay? Please hold your love offering to your heart. Be as generous in mind, body, and giving as you can. First of all, before you give to us, I'd like you to soak in gratitude that you even have anything to give. Thank who paid you this week, this month, this year. Thank whoever handed you those dollars, even if it was change at a store for something you bought. It's still a form of receiving. Give thanks, abundant thanks for anyone who's ever helped you physically, emotionally, and yes, financially. God bless them. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so it is. Thank you. On that note, please stand for our closing prayer. Did you folks get what I was sharing from that painting, that story? Did you? Good. Good to hear. I mean, it could be a song that I talk about all of a sudden, the lyrics of a song, and a painting. It could be a statue. There's so much of God's presence in so many things, if unlocked, to look at the deeper meaning. And everyone here has had those meanings, those downloaded to them, epiphanies. I swear, this is supposed to be the way we live, magical living all the time, where you just see downloads, feel downloads, experiencing downloads everywhere. It could be a sign on the streets. It could be the name of a building. Whatever. It could just be a dream. But we are getting to the place where we can hear the voice of God always. As Course in Miracles says, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. But who's listening? Let's practice listening. Centering into a state of gratitude for the service today, for this center, the meditation, also healings, insights, and even for the people who stand closest to you right now. You may not even know them. Somehow it was a vibrational reason for it, a frequency that was perfect for your greater good. Soak it in. Soak in the lesson even if you don't know what it was, and be grateful to your brother and sister. As we affirm, the light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we go, God is, I am, and we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. Thank you.